South Korea's exports are showing positive signs thanks to growing demand for chips. Now, should this be a relief for the rest of the year? We're joined by Professor Kim Sei-wan this morning. Welcome back, Professor Kim.
Good morning.
South Korea's exports went up over 11% on year in the first 20 days of April, all thanks to growing demand for chips. Where is this surging global demand for semiconductors coming from, and what are they being used for?
The global semiconductor market declined from 2 years ago as COVID pandemic disappeared. And last year, for example, Samsung Electronics had a huge business loss up to 11 trillion won from semiconductor division. But the semiconductor market is going up from the end of last year due to the rise of artificial intelligence related industry. The popularity of ChatGPT is a good example. Since globally expanding artificial intelligence industry needs the top-notch semiconductor produced only by Korean firms, Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix, Korean chip export will rise until the end of maybe this year and next year.
So the recovery of chip exports after the pandemic period and also the rise of AI, its popularity. Professor Kim, is that why major investment banks are also revising up Korea's growth outlook?
That's true. Along with the international investment banks, IMF also raised Korean economic growth forecast because of strong exports in chips and automobiles. Previously, Korean economy is expected to grow by about 2% level by these institutions for this year. But IMF have revised upwards the Korea's economic growth for 2024 from 2.2% to 2.3%. Actually, the 0.1% increase in economic growth is a big change. And major investment banks, UBS also lifted up Korean growth forecast from 2% to 2.3%. Citibanks and HSBC also raised up economic growth forecast for this year. This adjustment reflects a broader optimism regarding Korea's economic performance driven by expected rebounds in exports.
But Professor Kim, we also have to take a look if these outlooks actually reflect global uncertainties like the crisis over in the Middle East, which may be the reason why some analysts are not too optimistic about the 2% growth goal this year.
It is true that there are quite a few analysts who sees this year's Korean economy in a negative way because of geopolitical issues here and there. And we know that Korean economy is one of the most foreign-dependent economies in the whole world. So the rise of Korean economic growth would be much higher without ongoing geopolitical risks in Middle East and Europe. Particularly the war in Middle East is likely to lift up oil price anytime, and the war in Ukraine limits the stability of international agricultural product price like wheat and flours. So if geopolitical risks are worsened for this year, Korean economy recovery would be delayed with lower economic growth.
Right. Let's also talk about South Korean foreign exchange market, seeing a level of 1,400 won against the US dollar just last week for the first time since 2022. What's triggering this volatility?
Recent spike of $1 exchange rate up to near 1,400 won per dollar level is much driven by Iran's direct attack on Israel and Israel's counterattack. As we talked about, Korean economy is very much foreign dependent, particularly in oil imports. So if Hormuz Strait is seized by the war between Iran and Israel, Korean economy would be one of the largest victims of this war because more than 80% of the Korean oil imports should be going through the Hormuz Strait. Therefore, if the conflicts between the two countries continue, $1 exchange rate would be more volatile than before.
Right, then would you say the U.S. Federal Reserve's interest rate decision, particularly a much anticipated rate cut, is playing a significant role here?
Of course, right after $1 exchange rates touching on $1,401 level, the exchange rate quickly decreased due to higher possibility of U.S. interest rate cut. But as higher U.S. inflation over 3% on year goes on, U.S. Fed's interest rate cut decision can be delayed to the second half of this year. This interest rate cut delay by U.S. Federal Reserve will limit the rise of $1 exchange rate for a while. But even so, if the tension in the Middle East region gets higher, $1 exchange rate would be rising above 1,400 level anytime. So we should be watching closely the developments of the war in the region.
Definitely. All right, thank you so much for your insights. As always, Professor Kim, you have a great day.
Thank you very much. You too.